the mix and we play you.
They like TV. 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 Hey, you're watching They Like TV.
Are you ready to honor the legacy of my brother and hip-hop legend Shock G and make a difference in the community? Show your support for the East Oakland Collective, EOC, by purchasing the new Shock G Humpty t-shirt designed by Shamari Smith. It's available at beatsforhope.com. My brother Shock G was a multi-platinum hip-hop pioneer and producer who was deeply committed to helping the community, culture, and music of his time. His vision for helping humanity was honorable and has inspired people to come together and see to those that need important attention and love. By purchasing the new Shock G Humpty t-shirt, you are supporting the EOC, which helps provide essential services in East Oakland. Together we can make a difference as we honor Shock G's legacy and support our friends at the EOC. Get your Shock G Humpty t-shirt today.
Crazy, E40 slang, vocabulary gravy. Hustle so strong, we the whole block hazy. Curbside chatter, deals on the street lights. Hustle on the corner like a fiend, chasing green stripes. Knock steady, hitting speakers, bark like a pill. Street level impact, the ground like split. Street level impact, with a baseline crack. From the trunk to the block, nowhere to turn back. Hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah, we built for that. Street level impact, with a baseline crack. From the trunk to the block, nowhere to turn back. Hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah, we built for that. Integrality, pain screaming in protest. Sideshow circles, rubber scars on a cold deck. Money on the table, dice hit the pavement. Flip it like a DJ, stacks in amazement. Coffee in my bloodstream, bounce like hydraulics. Game type sharpers and barbers. Wallet from open to Borrego, the vibe stays solid. Street level impact, raw and symbolic. Street level impact, with a baseline crack. From the trunk to the block, nowhere to turn back. Hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah, we built for that. Street level impact, with a baseline crack. From the trunk to the block, nowhere to turn back. Hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah, we built for that.
Right after this. Can't forget your boy. I can't forget your boy.
What it do, y'all? This is the 3P. This is episode 3 of Street Level Impact Podcast. I'm your host, the Tycoon. We're other co-host, DJ Igor Beats on the ones and twos. And here we go again, y'all. So, hopefully y'all like what y'all hearing, tune in. If you like something, hit the like button. Basically we just here to, deliver information about what's going on in our community. Really trying to navigate everybody to, to be a little bit more unified in the area, to be more aware of what's going on, and just seeing how we can, we can all level up and uplift ourselves, especially in these times, So with that being said, I'm gonna just get straight into it because it's always something. There's never a dull moment out here. We on the West Coast. Economically, we in one of the most expensive places. Historically, we also one of the places that pop the most.
Basically.
And so with that comes a lot of changes, and so it's just a trip because I was just riding around, and it happens often, but when you look around, stuff ain't necessarily the same no more. A friend of mine, shout out Dividend, he had made a post, just a few days ago that, he was driving around and realized, a lot of stuff has changed, especially in certain areas, certain areas that were, a lot more lively and, prominent areas and look like, some pretty prominent areas of the Bay, have some of those have turned around where, other places are building and on the rise, certain cities or even certain parts of certain cities. And so, like I said, you gotta keep your keep your eyes open, keep your head on swivel when you're driving around and or take pictures. You never know. I mean, even your favorite restaurant or anything like that, you look up and it be gone one day. So, I wanted to talk about that for a minute because, like we was talking about in the last episode, there's a lot of stuff that's changing out here in the Bay, and it leaves a question mark. It leaves a question mark as far as, like I said, what the overall outcome is going to be. Even myself earlier today, I was driving through downtown Oakland. It's a part of, I want to say that's on Harrison Street. I think that's Harrison Street, but it's like on the backside, and they got, lofts and apartments over there, right? But what made me notice it, and I know you guys are all seeing these new developments, and that's in, all the different cities throughout the Bay Area, as well as other places. You're seeing new housing developments and things like that. Even overall, just I don't know what they want to call it, the modernization of cities. As far as their structures, we experienced that here in the Bay. Started off years ago with them replacing the bus stops that we used to buses pulling on the corner, where now they have islands in the middle of the street that the buses stop on. That over the years has caused, to me, a ridiculous amount of inconvenience, traffic, car accidents, everything on the streets. I know that they felt that they were probably, by implementing them, that it was going to kind of smooth out, traffic laws, or even just, cutting down on certain things. But in my opinion, I didn't really think it worked. That on top of the bike lanes that were being put in, and it just made the streets smaller to me. But there's an increase in cars. There's not like there's a decrease in drivers. Even in San Francisco, they kind of made it to where downtown, you can't drive down there anymore. It was already lots of one-ways and hard to find parking. But again, with the emergence of bike lanes, scooter lanes, whatever you want to call them, that since then the streets have gotten even more smaller. A lot of areas where there used to be parking, there's no longer parking because those are bus lanes and or bike lanes.
Right.
Or you're not able to park there as far as parking a car, but their parking spaces now are designated for electric scooters and bikes.
Right.
I don't think that was really thought out too well, in my opinion, and especially now too with the introduction of these automated vehicles. You know, Waymo, different things like that. I just think it causes a lot more confusion on the road. But anyway, when I was back there on Harrison, I seen it was like a tree, but it was made out of metal. And so, you know, I thought that was kind of interesting. You know, I like different types of art. So of course, you know, I've seen where people make, you know, statues or, you know, different art pieces out of all different types of material. But it tripped me out because of the location, and like I said, it just appeared to me like, oh, they're trying to give this more of a, you know, a modern look, more of a upscale look, especially when you look at places like, I believe it's in San Jose, or it's a couple down there in Silicon Valley where they have, isn't it certain parts of like the sidewalks that light up?
Yeah,
Where they have lights and different stuff. So yeah, I was like, okay, you know, I understand, yeah, this is a tech capital and, you know, robots, like I said, automated vehicles and everything else, but, you know, really? Like, you know, what are we trying to do? Like I said, I seen a metal tree, and I was just like, well, what's next? Are you guys about to start chopping trees down, or, you know, what's going on? And I also noticed a few days ago, they released a bunch of robots in San Francisco. Basically, I guess, you know, this isn't the first time they've done some stuff like this, and over the years, I know that there was a situation where they had, I think it was like last year, the year before, they had AI, or had robots, out at the games. You know, like at the sports games and stuff, just right there amongst the general public, you know, kind of like I guess a test run to see how people would really react, you know, by moving around, having to move around, you know, amongst the robot, or basically the robots moving around amongst us, you know, freely. I don't know, it's all still kind of sketchy to me. That's something I think it's gonna take a minute to adjust to. You know, I talked about it the other week. They had the robot Atlas that, you know, can almost move basically like a human. You know, can run, jump, dance, you know, you name it. You know, everything from simple, you know, household tasks to, you know, more physically demanding stuff too. You know, stuff that, you know, you're required to be more agile for and different things. And yeah, I trip off of that, because like I said, you know, well, what is it gonna look like in the next few years? And I know we've seen movies and different stuff, but it's like, you know, are we really ready to, I guess, fully integrate that into our program? You know, we're really ready to.
No, we're not.
You know, I've seen some restaurants, I know they have them in the airports, and there's a couple others that are like in the city, in different parts of the Bay Area, where it's a robot making your food. I haven't experienced that yet. I've witnessed it, but I haven't myself. I couldn't bring myself to purchase nothing. But I just thought it was interesting, and I'm wondering how long is that going to take, or, you know, like I said, for everybody to get accustomed to it. But yeah, they're changing a lot of stuff around here. Starting off with that, like I said, I only hope that it's, you know, gonna be for the benefit of everybody. And I'm kind of curious as to what adjustments are gonna have to be made for us. Let's see. I can give you guys another example. This is, I mean, I know I don't want you to think I'm off topic, but I'm only speaking to it in regards of even technology. You know, recently, I had an associate, somebody that I know was incarcerated, temporarily, but you know, things happen. But during the process, and you know, I happened to be one of the people that was, available to assist with what was going on. But during the process, I learned a lot. And I know y'all probably like, what is he talking about? But it's been a while, a long time since I've had to deal with the justice system or the jail system, if you will, to that capacity, as far as being incarcerated, dealing with facility, anything like that. But it's come to my attention that a lot of things have changed, even in that regard. And it made me think, because like I said, technology and how things are changing, I'm wondering how that's going to look even in the next few years, or if they're going to start there first before, they're already, like I said, they're releasing, they do have robots out already in society. I believe that this year is when they're going to actually start delivering some of the first new generations of robots where people were able to order them, to really have them as, assistant in the home and things like that. I'm waiting to see, what a regular person, the average person's reaction is. It's one thing to hear about it from the celebrities and everything else, but, like I said, just a somewhat average person and, to see how they can handle it, somebody with a family even, to see, okay, is there really something that, people can adjust to, or they having a hard time? But in the jail system, I guess they have made significant, changes. One of them that I noticed, and I've heard of this before, but I know that it goes on in the correctional system and the prison systems, as far as the type of technology and different things that the inmates are allowed access to. In the prison system, they, depending on the states and different things, they do have access to tablets, video game systems, that they can have, for their personal use, that they're allowed to have those things. And I'm not knocking it. I understand people is, people are doing their time, and at the same time, technology, different things are evolving. So at some point, it has to reach them. They're a part of society still too. But I didn't know that. So okay, in the county, in the jail system now, and for those that are wondering, I am talking about right here in the Bay Area, Alameda County, to be exact, is what I'm speaking of right now. I believe they also have it in San Francisco County or San Mateo, but the inmates at the local county jails are now allowed to have tablets. So yeah, they got tablets. I guess not necessarily like this one you guys see me holding up. I guess probably a clearer version of it, because I know I was watching a different show, and they have these type of tablets like out of state as well, like Arizona and different things, like I said, from not just the prison system, but in the county system now they've implemented these. And I thought that was neat to an extent. Like I said, okay, they're trying to keep up with technology. I could see some of the pros and cons of it, because as it was explained to me, I guess you get a tablet upon entry, and then from there, of course you have to have money on your books, but then you're able to purchase. I guess it already comes where you can read books on here, like e-books, or the digital version of the newspaper comes on there. But separate from that, I guess you're able to rent movies and music and do other things. They're allowed to make phone calls on there, and I thought that was pretty cool. Because I could see how that could eliminate problems on a lot of different levels. Of course, as far as people wanting to entertain themselves, you know, and there's so many people in there, you know, you don't want everybody, all these, you know, all these different egos and opinions and everything else, and so, you know, for some people to be able to like to kind of stick to themselves, or, you know, they want to entertain themselves their way without being interrupted, I think that that is a good idea in regards to, you know, keeping the vibe mellow, you know, keeping the environment mellow. No reason for people to be, you know, fighting back and forth over the TV or over what to watch, you know, even using the phone. I remember those days. I remember, you know, serious situations happening because of that. So, you know, I thought that was pretty cool because, again, you know, a lot of people's opinions and thoughts, even mine at one point, is that, hey, inmates, they get treated like animals. It's not necessarily a rehabilitation situation there. I mean, they claim that that's what it's for. They even have some of the places named as rehabilitation centers, but there's no rehabilitation really in place. I mean, there's a few programs, you know, or a small amount of programs for like people with substance abuse or anger management. You know, the school program that they have available kind of varies depending on where you at. But yeah, other than that, it was, you know, nothing really going on. So I thought that it was neat because that was another thing that I was told, that you're able to job search and other stuff on the tablet. So I thought that was pretty cool, because, you know, in like fatherhood or parenting, co-parenting classes and stuff. So at least it gives somebody, you know, something to do, some incentive to, you know, to be positive and to stay focused on positive things. So I thought that was pretty dope. What I didn't necessarily like, and I understand that it's a business still, and, you know, they have to monopolize it or monetize off of it some way, somehow, but the fact that you had to pay for certain stuff, especially when you're in there, because you don't have money, you know,
Right.
the money that you, even if you're working for the money in there, you have a job on the inside, you're not making nowhere near the amount of money that you would make on the street in the free world. And so for some of that stuff, you know, as far as purchasing it, I kind of think that, you know, it's kind of a given. I don't think that should be necessarily needed for certain things. You know, books, for example, I don't think they should, you know, should really have to pay for that. Games, quote unquote, you know, whether it's, you know, dominoes that you're playing on the tablet, where you're playing the computer, card games. I don't think they should have to charge for any of that, especially because, again, it eliminates certain things. You got some people that play because they just like to play. They do it as a pastime. You know, everybody doesn't want to gamble. You know, so that's another way to me. I think that they keep the peace because, okay, hey, the people that just want to play for fun, they can play, you know, even by themselves. Like I said, if they want to, they don't have to, you know, sit there and be bored, or have to sit here and, you know, engage in some activity they don't necessarily want to just because they're trying to pass time. Movies, I mean, it's debatable, but again, regardless, a lot of these people still don't have money. And that's another part I was going to get to too, but I'm going to try to wrap this up. But it's like, yeah, okay, you're giving them this device, but that doesn't mean they necessarily have money. If they don't have money on their books, they don't have money on their books, period. So, you know, what are they able to do, or, you know, at least access to certain types of movies, whether they're documentaries or different things, you know, or educational movies, things like that. I think that they should have access to that kind of stuff. And to be honest with you, music too. You know, as an artist, I can say that, you know, the industry then turned everything upside down for us. So, and we're barely making any money, but, you know, how dare you charge? I mean, you got apps out here literally where streaming is free, so I don't understand why an inmate would have to pay money to have access to their music. You know what I mean? To stream music that everybody else is streaming for free anyway. And it go without saying, but I thought that was kind of weird too, because like, okay, well, how do we not have money, but you guys are giving out free electronics
Right.
to inmates? You know, again, I'm not knocking it, I'm glad that they have them, but I wonder about that. Same thing out here on the streets. You know, there's free phones and free tablets, you know, if you need certain qualifications. You know, they
Right.
have programs and companies in place that will assist you with getting any of that stuff. So it's like, well, if y'all just giving it away on certain levels, then why are we paying so much? Or how are you telling us that, you know, these institutions are broke, or that, you know, and when I say institutions, I mean anything from these facilities to these organizations, these different governments, and you know, cities and counties and officials, and all these different boards, you know, where they're claiming, hey, we have no funds, but I find that hard to believe. I find it, you know, it's something's not adding up.
Right.
But again, like I said, I thought it was pretty dope. I also noticed that they do internet visits. Internet visits is a trip. I thought that was awesome because I can remember times, you know, being incarcerated where I was a few cities away, you know. I was a few cities away and people weren't able to come visit me, you know. Whether it's they didn't have transportation or, you know, things of that nature, you know, to necessarily make it to where I was, or you know how that is. You gotta cross bridges and still travel through other cities, things of that nature, where it's like, okay, if you don't have a car, then what are you doing? Now you're taking trains, buses, and cabs at the time, you know, just show you how long ago it was. But, you know, yeah, even with the ride share stuff, it's like, you know, it's something that everybody's not able to do. I was watching one of those jail shows the other night on Netflix, and it was a guy, and he was, you know, his son, he was waiting for his son to come visit him, but the state that they were in, which I believe was Arizona, where the son was relative to where the dad was, it was, I guess, out of the way, you know, and it was a pretty long distance, and the son didn't have a car, and so he was gonna have to take a ride share, you know, Uber or a Lyft, to actually get out to the facility to see where his dad was, and he wasn't able to make it because, number one, it's hard, I guess, to find people that, you know, necessarily will drive that far, and then, you know, just money, what it costs. So, the fact that they had video calls, and I did participate in a video call, and I wasn't, you know, too far, but I was far enough where it was like, wait a minute, I don't have to, you know, that's a lot of gas, and like I said, you know, hours of travel time, or hour of travel time each way versus, you know, I can do it right here from the device, I ain't gotta go nowhere, you know, and it was free. So I thought that was pretty dope, like I said too, for people that have, you know, elderly relatives that aren't necessarily able to make those long trips, you know, or even with their families, you know, hey, your girl is out on the streets, and I don't mean literally on the streets, but she's out there in the world, but, you know, she got 2, 3 kids, and she trying to You know, there might not necessarily be transportation or be time to always travel out there to visit you, but being able to do it over an app, now you can sit there and, you know, have a full video interview at least, you know, with her and all the kids all at the same time, you know, and it's not inconveniencing anybody. So I thought that was pretty awesome. But again, what I noticed is that on the weekends, the internet visits were free. You just had to set it up. During the week, however, they were charging for them. Like $2.75, $3, something like that for a visit. And you figure, okay, it's a 25, 30-minute visit. And I know when I answered the phone call on the phone, they said that they were charging like 6 cents a minute. So, yeah, 6 cents a minute for a phone call, but then like I said, for the internet video calls, like almost $3 for about 30 minutes. So, yeah, when you start thinking about that again, it's like, that's kind of expensive, but why are they charging for some of these services at the end of the day, especially if some of them are being provided or they already under a contract with the city, county, or state, you know, so it's like, I mean, again, I know it's a business, but some of the rates just seem kind of ridiculous because, again, if you guys can turn around and give the stuff away, or like even with Obama phones and stuff, you're offering free service, then what is everybody paying for? Just my 2 cents, but you know, also, you know, I do want to make this statement. I'm not trying to make it sound exciting. On the other side, I thought that they were making it a little bit too comfortable for people in there. That's just me. But of course, I am a little older. I have to use these devices because they're part of our society. You know, they've been implemented in everything that we do. And I came up during the video game era, the evolution of all of it, but not to the point that I want to sit there and stare at a screen all day. You know, like I said, because of their circumstances, I can understand, you know, that it's definitely a blessing for the inmates to have access to that stuff. Because you have to think about that too, you know, the amount of people that are incarcerated that are actually behind on technology and everything else, and you know, a lot of them trying to get them reacclimated, you know, and basically workforce development, you know, getting them caught up to speed on everything and obtaining the skills and stuff. It's kind of harder when they don't have access to it. So, like I said, overall, I think it's a good thing. But, you know, if you're going to do it, do it. I don't see the point in trying to, you know, scrape every penny you can, especially, like I said, from them, because you already know they don't have it. Most of them that's in there, if they got any restitution, all their money goes to that. You know, so are you trying to make it fair for everybody? I mean, you know, as far as everybody has access, equal amount of access to different things, because if not, I think that could possibly cause a problem. But other than that, I think that the whole, you know, whoever thought of it and came up with the idea of, hey, you know, let's do this for them, and hopefully, like I said, it changed the climate in there, you know, a lot of these facilities, especially after COVID happened, you know, that was one of those situations where you don't know what's going to happen, but if you're incarcerated, you know that you don't have no control over what happens, you know, and stuff like that where people is just passing away, even in there from the COVID-19 virus, or, you know, not being able to get in touch or know what's going on with their family outside. I know that devastated a lot of people, you know, both ways. So, yeah, shout outs to that. But again, like I said, don't I'm not glorifying it. I'm not telling you to go to jail to check it out.
Right.
Please stay out of there. You can do more out here on the street. You know, seriously, like you can get certified for a lot of that stuff out here. You'd be surprised. It's a lot of free courses and training courses. Me myself, I actually do teach a digital literacy classes, as well as some other curriculum I'm working on, and introducing people to AI and showing them how that works, and and other things related to technology. And yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. It's a lot out here that you can do that actually won't cost you nothing to get you where you need to be, as far as up to speed with technology and coding and different things. So, it's something to think about. I mean, you already got everything right there. You literally got a computer in your hand. Some of y'all is probably watching or listening to us on it right now. So it don't hurt to slide over to Google and, hey, ask a question. Slide to ChatGPT, ask a question, and you'd be surprised what answers pop up. Anyway, but yeah, we're gonna move on, because like I said, stuff is changing, and if you don't pay attention, you're gonna miss it. So, I know last week I named a bunch of places that were going to be closing in the Bay Area, as well as a few places that are going to be opening in the Bay Area. And I have some more information I'd like to share in regards to that, because, again, changes are being made. So it looks like we got some new stores coming in, as well as some old stores leaving. So, hopefully, if there's a store that you frequented, hopefully you got the memo early and you've already made some adjustments. And that's a sidebar that I want to get into as I'm talking about this, because some of these stores are pertinent. Some of these stores are important to our communities. And on other shows, this discussion has came up over time, especially, with them closing down stores. But I'm wondering what is really going to happen next. And I'll let you guys know when I get there. But, so yeah, first thing is food spots. Food spots. And if anybody, please, if you're watching this, you definitely jump in the comment section, whether it's on Twitch, YouTube, wherever you're watching this from. You can also chime in. You can send us a message on any of the social media sites like Twitter, X, excuse me. It's not Twitter anymore, formerly known as, but on X, on Instagram, even Facebook, and give me some of your thoughts and opinions on these food places. I know that recently, I guess they said for the second year in a row, Oakland has been considered one of the top dining areas, the top food spots in the country. I do notice that there's a lot of changes in regards to the type of cuisine that's available. I see a lot of different restaurants, new restaurants, all different backgrounds, opening up all over the place. And like I said, this is still a pretty big tour area, so I guess, I need to get out more and actually go to some of these spots and get some reviews myself. But, yeah, there's a lot of new restaurants or different chains that I haven't necessarily heard of. I guess some of them are doing good in other places and they're just expanding. So, I think that's a good thing. Like I said, hopefully for us it'll be good for business. So, in the city, Union Square, there's a new burger spot that is scheduled to open, which is Super Duper Burgers. Okay? I've never heard Super Duper Burgers. Honestly, I like burgers. I don't necessarily. I'm one of those people. Like I like what I like. So it's not that I'm not open to trying new stuff, but typically when I find a restaurant that I like, I kind of stick to that. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm very open-minded. I do pay attention to seasoning, and everything. A lot of details when it comes to food, price, of course, and other things like that. But yeah, I just thought that it was some of it makes me think because I'm trying to figure out what is the big deal. So let's see, Super Duper Burgers, okay, which is, I guess it's a new burger chain, and they already have a bunch of different locations. It looks like here in the Bay Area, they have one in San Leandro, they have one in San Leandro, one downtown Oakland on Telegraph, and one in Emeryville. But like I said, they're new. I guess they have about 19 locations altogether. And this is a chain that's, I guess, based out of the Bay Area, and I didn't know that. So, I guess I'm gonna have to try it, see what it's about. I don't know exactly when it's gonna be opening, but I know the announcement was made, and that's gonna be at Union Square. I don't know, Igor, what do you think about burgers? I was gonna say that too when I was talking about this, because I noticed recently, like over the last, 2-3 years, the burger industry has changed. I mean, a lot of it was changing with food anyway, when they were introducing, more vegan options and health options, and you got a lot of places that offer impossible meat, or the veggie burgers and different stuff. And I mean, to each their own. I'm not big on any of that stuff, but the plant-based burgers, things like that. But I noticed that they also have, and to me again, I don't see what the big deal is, but these quote-unquote smash burgers.
You was on my point. You said what I was just about to say. I'm liking the business. I'm liking the growth in the business. But some of the products, I'm just kind of questioning, and that was one of my main, the smash burger. I'm feeling like it's not. You cut the meat in half. It's not as thick. It's not as dense, and you charging more. So it's like I'm getting a half a burger, or I'm getting less of a burger, I should say, for the same price, because you smashing the meat to make it as big, but it's thin. Because one of the spots I like going to is Hyphy Burger. Shouts out to Hyphy Burger. I like their new sauce, and I like their milkshakes. But the burger, it's like it's a regular sized burger, but the meat is smashed so thin that everything else overempowers the meat. You got more lettuce. The burger is about thin as a pickle, put it that way. A pickle slice. And I don't know. I'm liking the business ideas, but I'm just not liking the end product to the fullest, I guess I should say.
I get you, because that's what I was going to say too. I've had Hyphy Burger. I've had it some other places too, though. Because there's a couple of them that are out here, and that's their thing is, they're introducing, they're doing smash burgers or smack burgers, different, whatever name they call it. But basically that's what it is a smash burger. And like you said, I didn't see necessarily what the hype is. Now, me personally, I like chopped cheeses and Philly cheesesteaks sandwiches, and I can understand because I was having a conversation, and that's what somebody was saying to me. It was like, well, shit, that's all the chopped cheese is. It's basically like a hamburger chopped up, and I can see that too. If it was a thin slice of ground beef, like you said per se, yeah. Whereas it is ground beef, but then like you said, they make it into real thin patties, and then as it's frying up or grilling up, then you chop it up, and that's kind of how they get chopped cheeses. And like you said, the same thing with smash burger, a thin burger. I don't necessarily see what all the hype is, and,
Right.
and because again, then like you said, you're getting charged more for less. Because I know I've seen some where people was, hey, I need a double stack or a triple stack, and now you're getting the same amount of meat as you would have in a regular burger, or like say for example the Nation's burger or a quarter pound burger.
Right.
Know?
I just don't see where the smash burger stands up to a burger like a quarter pound burger or a Nation's burger.
Right. Because to me, it just seems like it's a different style of cooking. That's all.
Yeah.
It's just something a little different because it's smashed. But the fact that it's being smashed doesn't mean anything. It's just I guess a grilling style. And then you said something else about the sauce, and I was gonna say that too because you're right. When it comes to a lot of these places, burger spots, for example, too. I mean, the menus are kind of the same for the most part. You're gonna have a couple different types of burgers on there, some other options that are, like chicken, possibly, or even a vegan option, French fries, and drinks, and normally, I mean, that's about it. Unless you have one or two other items, that you try to make as your signature items, like how he was saying for Hyphy Burger, the milkshakes, because again, everybody ain't making milkshakes the same, shit, McDonald's, you hardly ever get anything out of there, because, the ice cream and the milkshake,
Always
shit be
broke.
Frosties, Wendy's, I said Frosties, I was thinking Foster Freeze, but Wendy's, to me, is like one of the only chain fast food burger places that their Frosty is like, it's a signature, you know what I mean? It's like, it's their exclusive, recipe, whatever it is, from the texture, the flavor, texture, everything else. I think that, even though it's not extravagant necessarily, but it's distinctive. The ones at Hyphy Burger, they look kind of fancy. I like that. You know what I mean? But again, like you said, are we able to, kind of offset the price? Because to me, like and again, I'm not big on sweets, but when I started looking at the options of what they were offering, I started thinking about, how we used to even go to these ice cream parlors at other places back in the day, and you get a milkshake from there, like Fenton's ice cream. Yeah, you go there, and they really, old-fashioned milkshakes, along with them, putting toppings on it and different things. So, like I said, Hyphy Burger kind of reminded me of that, where they're keeping that, keeping that aspect of it as to make it a little bit more distinctive from just regular stuff, just a plain milkshake or whatever. But outside of that, like, yeah, what's the big deal? And you mentioned sauce. That's what I was gonna say, and even I noticed some of that, like Raising Cane's, for example, which is a chicken spot. For those that don't know, I'm pretty sure y'all do by now. They got Raising Cane's, a couple different states, but you know, they put out like, oh, this is our signature sauce, when all it is mustard, ketchup, and mayonnaise. Or mustard and ketchup mixed together, you know. Quick Way, old school Quick Way, was good for that, you know, because it had their sauce on it, but that's really what it was. At the same time, though, I will say, the ratio, however they blended that together, it was a distinctive taste. You didn't get that everywhere. But you know when you was going the Quick Way, you knew you was gonna get a Quick Way burger. It tasted like a Quick Way burger. None of this other stuff tasted like it. And so, like you were saying, I'm looking for that. You know, I'm looking for, and of course, like you said too, that hopefully is decent as far as the price. But yeah, you're looking for that distinctive taste. You're looking for that one-of-one, something that you're not gonna get nowhere else. So, Super Duper Burgers, I'm gonna try to get to y'all and try it out, if I can. If anybody happen to work there, you know, and y'all can hit me up and let me know. Or if you just want to share your experiences, if you've tried it before, because like I said, it's new to me. I've never, I don't think I've seen one actually. Now that I know where they're located at, I'm gonna go check it out. But
And where did you say it was located again?
there's one in San Leandro. There's one on Telegraph, I believe downtown Oakland, and there's one in Emeryville. And they're about to open there's a couple other locations too. It looked like, said they had 18 or 19 locations out here. But the newest one that they're going to be opening is going to be in Union Square in the city. Yeah, let's see, another food spot out there, well no, not out there, but excuse me, here in the Bay Area, in Berkeley. It's a famous pizza place, the Cheese Board Collective. They're gonna finally be getting some renovations done and expansions, you know, I guess to you know, increase the size of their restaurant over in Berkeley. They've been trying to get it done for a while now, and I guess they're now able to actually get the work done. So they're still going to be open, I guess, operating out of like one of those portable containers while the work is still being done. But yeah, again, Cheese Board, I've never heard of them. You know, again, no shade to them. From my understanding, I guess they're a pretty good place. Of course, too, Berkeley, you know, for those that don't know, but you know, Berkeley is a college town. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of places that are, you know, blowing up or getting pretty popular right there, you know, in that city, just based off of that, because you know the student body, you know what I mean? As far as the amount of students, they have plenty of customers, you know. I remember, to me, the only spot that I used to go eat at, pizza place that I used to eat at over there was Blondie's.
That's nice.
You know, Blondie's, you know, if y'all, depending on your age, y'all know what I'm talking about, but Blondie's was the pizza chain out here when I was growing up. They sold other things besides pizza as well. You know, they had a couple locations. They had in Berkeley, downtown in the city. You know, those are some of the most famous locations. Like I said, one of them being down right where all the tourists are at in the city, and another one being right there near the Cal Berkeley campus, you know, where it's a lot of foot traffic and tourism going on. But yeah, it was, again, like I said, an authentic taste. You know, I mean, it was different. They had their own, you know, everything. And like I said, there was other food that was on the menu as well, but no matter what it was, you knew that it was from there. Because like I said, you know, whether it was seasoning or the ingredients, but everything had, you know, its own originality to it. And I just trip off of that because, like I said, some of these places, you know, I can't tell. Like I was talking to somebody about that. I see a lot of different pizza places all over the place, and you know, everybody's, oh, they're good, or this one is good, or this one's the best, and you know, I'm not even a pizza person like that anymore, to be honest with you. You know, of course, I've been eating pizza all my life. You know, when we were kids, that's what we used to, you know, hey, you give us a pizza, then we was on top of the world. You know what I mean? It didn't matter where it came from or what it was. But as I've gotten older, I can tell the difference. To me, pizzas are more like a snack anyway nowadays. You know, just something to eat on the go. But the different styles of pizzas that I've come across, I'm not impressed. You know, it doesn't necessarily matter to me whether it's a thin crust or thicker crust pizza. It's more about the toppings and how it's put together. And outside of that, I happen to like Chicago style pizza, which is more of a stuffed pizza, you know, deep dish. Cause, you know, to me, those especially, it was like a big meal. You know what I mean? Like, so, I'm on the hunt for that. I was told that there is a place in Berkeley that is supposed to be like the #1 spot to go to out here for Chicago style pizza. So I'm gonna try to make my way over there and see what it's about. But yeah, the rest of it, I mean, you know, not saying that because you can tell the difference depending on where you go. But again, those are your options. Whether it's a thick crust, a thin crust, a stuffed crust, you know, which just means it has cheese in it, basically. You know, what kind of sauce they use or how thin it is. But other than that, it kind of all tastes the same. I'm not, you know, like I said, maybe I need to go to some other places. And I have been on the East Coast before, and you know, people swear by like, oh, the pizza is way different out there, or you know, as far as it being introduced to the States, it originated, you know, back east, but I wasn't impressed. And again, even out here, there's a lot of people that move from the East Coast that have pizzerias and stuff out here, but to me, theirs don't taste, you know, theirs really tastes like dough and tomato, you know, bread, tomato sauce, and cheese. That's it. But yeah, Cheeseburger Collective, you know, again, like I said, the Super Duper Burgers. If anybody know about these places, you know, tap in with me. I want your thoughts on that, you know, and at least give me some direction on what I should order, you know, and then I'll be able to come back on the show and let y'all know how I felt about it. Let's see, what other stores? Well, food, as far as food goes, Panda Express. Everybody knows about Panda Express. Panda Express had a location inside the San Francisco Shopping Center, which I believe is, you know, the mall downtown, the big mall. Well, you know, since COVID and over the years, due to the economy and, you know, all sorts of things, you know, the tourism numbers were down. Over the years, the mall actually went through a lot of changes. They got purchased by a new company. Since then, a lot of stores, you know, they haven't renewed their leases. A lot of them weren't able to even keep up with any of that due to the pandemic and other things that took place, you know, the amounts of theft and different things. So, I know they've been talking about it, you know, and they don't know necessarily how long it's going to take because, of course, the economy has also changed in regards to how people shop, you know, so all over the country you're seeing that where the different malls and shopping centers, you know, some of them are really on the brink of, you know, closing down if they haven't already, you know, and this is empty. It ain't like how it was you know, when we were younger, where that's where everybody went, was the mall. You know, that's where all the stores were at. You had to actually physically go in, you know, before you could ever even order anything online. You know, that's the only way you were gonna find out if something was on sale, is either a sales paper or you actually walking through there. But yeah, they've closed a lot of stuff down. I know the movie theaters and all kind of stuff that they closed down in the mall. And one of the last times I was in there, it was just, you know, it was like almost walking through an abandoned building. I don't really know how else to explain it. You know, you just looked at everything was just really empty. You know, you try to go to certain floors and stuff, and everything was shut down. Well, the reason I'm mentioning that is because Panda Express was actually the only restaurant left open inside of the shopping center. All the other places had closed, and I mean, I guess luckily for Panda Express, you know, because it was still certain stores that are open in the mall, so you know, there's still people coming through there, and people need to eat, right? So, you know, I guess you know you kind of got to be thankful for them, because if they had closed before, people was really gonna stop coming. Because I mean, hey, what y'all gonna do? Y'all catering lunch? You know, and as far as the employees, people that work there, and I mean customers, if they gotta leave to go eat, they really not gonna be coming here as often. You know, there's already hardly any stores in there, but they finally closed down. So now you do plan on going to the city, and if you plan on going to a store that's in that area or that's still inside the shopping center, I suggest you make you a sandwich. You know, put together a little bag lunch, a little sack lunch, if you will, you know, and grab, you know, some crackers, some cookies or something, because, yeah, there's no more. I don't know how to feel about that either, especially, I mean, on the other side, like Target, Walmart, you know, some of these places, like, they have built-in McDonald's, you know, inside their stores, or Pizza Huts, things like that. But what does that say about actual malls? You know, because again, I mean, you know, stores like Walmart or Target, they're typically their own, you know, they occupy their own space. They're not necessarily part of malls. The biggest one actually, though, that I have seen is the one in Richmond, but that used to actually be, you know, that was actually a mall. They actually took over, you know, I want to say it was like it's 2 stories? I forgot what building it used to be. I forgot what retail store it used to be, but the Walmart took it over there, and that's one of the biggest Walmarts I've been to, I think, in California. You know, it's 2 levels. So, you know, but again, what is going to become of that? Like, I mean, are we going to see malls, you know, in the coming years? At first they made it seem like a lot of them were closing down, but then you see certain ones, they still have them open, you know. It's kind of questionable what the stores they have in there. You know, I guess that kind of depends on the area and the type of stores that people are frequenting that live in that area. But yeah, it just looked to me like kind of a lost cause. I remember when they started putting movie theaters at all the malls. So now you got a bunch of malls with movie theaters included in them that are all shut down. You know, there's a lot of jobs, but at the same time, just entertainment, stuff to do locally. If, you know, if those aren't worth keeping open, what's going to become of the city? Look right here in Oakland. Look right here in Oakland. They took Eastmont Mall and basically turned it upside down. It is more of a, now don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing, but
Resource center.
it's a town center, you know, 'cause they changed it now, of course, they don't call it Eastmont Mall, they call it Eastmont Town Center. It consists of, you know, they got the county buildings up there, county offices, you know, state offices, things like that up there for, you know, they got medical facilities up there that they've included, the library, you know, but really no stores. Really no stores. I mean, they have McDonald's, a Burger King, and a Taco Bell there.
Grocery store.
The grocery store, Gonzalez, and then I think outside of that they got the beauty supply place,
CVS.
CVS, Dee Dee's clothing store, a Rainbow clothing store, and that's it. They don't have anything else there.
Right.
So the rest of it is all empty. I remember there was, the bank was up there. I mean, oh, and AutoZone, excuse me. But yeah, I remember the bank was there, you know, and a bunch of other places that are just no longer there. Even for, they had, you know, small commercial spaces for businesses and stuff. All that stuff is empty now, or not there,
And the movie.
you know? And so it made, yeah, and a movie theater, you're right, yeah, the movie theater was there now. I will say though, they did include the skate park in the back. You know, that was a nice addition. But it's not open year round, you know, cause it's outside, it's a more of an outside venue. So, you know, I mean, that's cool during the summertime as a place for events and stuff, but other than that, I mean, yeah, it's like they just kind of tore it all the way down. With that being said, there isn't many places to shop here, in Oakland. You know, there was other malls, and that was the last one.
Yeah.
That was the last one to go. So yeah, I mean, it's like now what? Because there's literally nowhere to go. I mean, you have to go to the next city over and try to, you know, go to one of their little strip malls, which again consists of we have that here. We have Durant Square and we got Foothill Square. You know, where Foothill Square is what people consider a quote unquote strip mall. Same thing. They have a grocery store there, the bank, hair supply place, a Rainbow, a Shoe Palace, a Ross. That's it. You know, and Carl's Jr. The laundromat.
And the Wingstop.
Yeah, right, and the Wingstop, excuse me. And the Wingstop. But like we said, those are all, you know, it's not a mall.
Right.
And that just makes things different. I'm wondering how are all these changes gonna reshape the communities moving forward. Another store, Williams Sonoma. They just closed their last store in the city, which was in Union Square. Store's been around for a minute, but they are going to be replaced by the Chanel store. So there's already currently a Chanel store out there, and I guess they're going to be moving from that location into the old location for Williams Sonoma. And again, I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make. I mean, is that many people buying Chanel? You know, it just kind of, it trips me out. I heard something even yesterday, it's talking about $30,000 for a Louis Vuitton coat. And I was like, $30,000? That's a house. I mean, you know, that's down payment on one, for sure. You know what I mean? What I look like on a coat? Nobody got that kind of money out here. So then when you think about it, it's like, well, how are these businesses staying open and staying afloat? You know, because it's only a small percentage of people that's even making the kind of money to entertain those type of prices, you know, $1,000 t-shirts, you know, things like that. I don't get it. I don't see how that's helping create jobs or anything. But, you know, hey, I'm not knocking it, you know. You know, my lady likes it. You know, Chanel, you know, they got some cool designs, but again, the price is just like, you know, what's gonna become of it? Should I like to eat too? You know what I'm saying? So y'all get rid of all the food spots and then y'all putting up these stores that people can barely afford. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, another store that's about to close is a CVS store. And this is what I was mentioning earlier when I said, how is some of this going to affect the community? Now, the CVS store that I'm talking about is located in San Francisco. It's the one on Van Ness Street, 701 Van Ness. They just announced that store is going to be closing February 24th. So, yeah, it's about a month and 10 days from now, you know. Once that CVS closes, there will only be 8 actual locations left. There's only 8 CVS's that are still going to be operating in the city. But I think that's devastating. Now, even though the city is, you know, we think about it, says what, 7.5 miles long or whatever, 7.5 square miles, is that what it is? So it's not that big, it's just everything is all piled up on top of each other. But even still, when you live there and considering, you know, having to travel even from one area of the city to another, whether it's public transportation or in a car, you know, some of that can be inconvenient. And this has been going on, you know, they've shut down a bunch of Walgreens over the last few years even. You know, they've closed down a lot of Walgreens out here in the Bay Area in general. You know, each city has seen Walgreens being closed down. Rite Aid went bankrupt, I believe, last year. So, you know, there's no Rite Aids anywhere. CVS is really the only other one, the only option as far as a quote-unquote drugstore, you know, convenience store / drugstore. The thing about these stores, which makes it a big deal, is because this is how people are able to get their medication. Especially when we're talking about people with young kids, you know, infants, and elderly people, or people with any type of disabilities, you know, that need any type of assistance, because you figure they're not able to travel necessarily to get to these other stores. So it definitely is an inconvenience, and you know, it can be even more than that for people that really need, you know, like say it's, you know, it's heart medicine or it's certain things that you have to take, you know what I mean? And the fact that somebody's not able to get to it, and then it can cause harm, you know, by them not having access to it, I don't think that that's right. I do understand that, you know, it is business. So one of the reasons that we're seeing a lot of these closures is because of the stores' productivity, or even the restaurants, you know, like I said, due to the economy that we're dealing with, you know, theft, a lot of places experience losses that they weren't necessarily able to recover from. So they have to downsize. Again, it's part of business, I understand that. But at what cost? You know, like I said, I grew up in a time where some of these type of stores, those are the stores you figure will never close. You'll never close. I remember, like I said, back in the day, you could go, like Walgreens, for example, or CVS or Rite Aid, but, you know, you could go there if you needed to cash a check, you needed to get a money order, you know, to make a payment on something, you know, photos, you know, just to go get your passport. Really, the only other place other than you going to the post office that where you can actually go and get your photos taken for your passport, because you know they have to be a certain size, certain quality, and everything else. Those are the only places that you can do that. And more importantly, medicine, because even local pharmacies, meaning mom and pop pharmacies, you know, that are independently owned, there aren't too many of those left around. So you would think, and I mean, I understand, you know, of course they in the same field as competition, but again, I would think whether it was Walgreens or CVS, I would think one of them, you know, would be doing good enough to where, considering the fall of some of the other companies, their competition, that they shouldn't have to worry about shutting down.
Right.
But like I said, you know, it is understandable when you factor in those other things. But what are people supposed to do? What are people supposed to do that can't make it to the other locations? I mean, I know there are delivery apps, but are they talking about, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if they do that, but I mean, is it, you know, are they gonna start offering delivery service
Yes.
for Walgreens?
Yes.
You know, like I said, we talking about really for the elderly people especially.
DoorDash.
No, I know it's DoorDash and all of that, but I'm talking about just them specifically, because if they're already having to close, if Walgreens or like CVS, if they're having to close some of these stores now because of productivity levels, then what are they going to do to keep them up? What are they going to do to increase those numbers again? You know, because at that point, what are they going to just shut one down after another to, like I thought about it the other day, there's only we'll say 3 Walgreens in Oakland? If that?
Yeah, the one on Seminary just closed.
Fruitvale?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. The one that you talking about was one of the newer ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just closed.
Yeah, so see, I know, the more I think about it, downtown Oakland, on Broadway,
It's about to
and
close.
that one closing too?
It's gonna, yeah, they talking about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that only leaves the one on Fruitvale. And that's one of the older ones. Right there on Fruitvale Foothill. Next to O'Reilly's.
Yeah.
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 No, I know I had to go there. That's what I was trying to say. You know how much of an inconvenience that is to have to drive across town, have to literally get on the freeway. And the whole time I'm on the freeway, I'm passing exits where there used to be Walgreens. You know? And then like how you saying CVS, and I had to look and think about that. It was like, okay, well how many CVS's are still around here? Because like you said, in an emergency situation, you have to literally drive to the next city over, if not 2-3 cities over. And hopefully, hopefully you realize it and can get there in enough time before they close. And you know, some of them, their pharmacy close early. Pharmacy be closed by 6, 7 o'clock. The photo department closes by that time. So like I was saying, you know, thankfully I know it's still the one out there towards San Lorenzo, towards Hayward, whatever, that's open 24 hours, that Walgreens, you know, that's a lifesaver. But then again, it's not at nighttime. And I just happen to know because there's been situations where, say, you know, you get released from the hospital. You get released from the hospital after 10 o'clock. They give you a prescription for certain medication. Ain't no pharmacies open. The only pharmacy that's open around that night, like I said, might be the one out there. So now, you and everybody else is driving from whole different cities, 2-3 cities over. You know, it's an inconvenience. And I know that, like with Amazon or like I said, there are other services and apps too, where, you know, people are able to get medication delivered to them, or even over-the-counter meds. And that's why I was trying to say Amazon, is because I see that a lot of people are doing that. You know, where you can buy aspirin and all that stuff. You know, you buy it right on Amazon. I'm kind of skeptical about that because, again, you know, we know that there are a lot of counterfeit medications that are being made in, you know, in other places, and that's not something that I want to play around with. You know, I want to be confident and I want to feel comfortable with knowing where the stuff is coming from and that I'm getting what I'm supposed to get. But again, what are you supposed to do? Especially if you're sitting there and you have, you know, like I said, financial troubles or anything of that nature where, hey, it's hard enough for you to get to this one location, let alone to the other one. You know, not all these hospitals, I mean, even still, even going to the county hospital, you don't need anything, like, they still bill you, you still have to pay co-pays for medications, visits, all of the above. But now it's that much more that you gotta deal with, cause now you can't even get to where you gotta get to get the medication. You know, it's just stuff that, it's like, are we really taking these things into consideration with some of the choices that we're making? You know, the former wrestler and governor, was it Jesse Bobby Ventura? He was also a military veteran, and I seen a clip that where he was being interviewed, and he made a statement saying that the United States is now a third world country, you know, and he started to break it down as far as some of the things that we're seeing happening right now that he actually witnessed in other countries. You know, from the way the government is running things or changing things around, and just the overall outcome, how it affects all the civilians. And that's something we need to think about, you know, because we sit here and we look at what goes on in these other places, and, you know, not saying all, but some where they don't have, you know, the best health care or even access to it. Or access to medicines, and that's what it's starting to seem like we're feeling the effects of. And I said this too before when everybody was running around, you know, just going crazy in stores and taking stuff and running out and everything else. Like, okay, well, what do you think is going to happen?
Yes, long-term effects.
The long-term effects of it is they close the stuff down. They say, hey, these stores aren't performing, you know, or it's too much of a liability. And that crushes a community, believe it or not. Because if people can't get no food there, they can't get their medication there, they can't get nothing there, why would they be there? So that ultimately hurts the community, because that gives everybody, it forces everybody. It doesn't even give them a choice. It kind of just forces them to move out of that community. It forces that community to be on the decline.
Yeah, to migrate.
You know?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Even, you know, back in the early days when, you know, we were just, you know, we roamed the earth, if you will, you know, exactly when it's time, when the resources that you need aren't here, what do people typically do, or animals? Migrate to the next place.
Yes. Nomad.
You know, so I just think that it's something we really need to evaluate, especially like I said too, we worried about all this technology, but it's like shit, even with that, these robots, they don't need a break at work. They don't need a drink of water. They don't get sick, they don't need medication. You know, so
They have a service of life.
in that aspect, what are they gonna need us for when the robots can do everything? So it's gonna be just the people who actually got money that can afford to be here, and the people that's running it, and the rest of us is gonna have to figure it out. Well, guess what? It's already happening. So, you know, please believe when it comes to voting, bills getting passed on new things, or old things, you know, pay attention, you know, some of these changes that you're seeing being made, and be in the know. That's all I'm saying. You don't want to be in the dark about any of this that's going on, okay? Because before you know it, like I said, you're going to turn around and you're not going to recognize nothing no more. For real.
For real.
Dave and Buster's is supposed to be opening a new site in Oakland. I'm wondering what's that gonna mean, cause that's what I'm trying to say. It's like y'all closing down the regular stores that we need, you know, the pharmacies and things like that, the stuff that people need. But then you're opening up this other stuff which is purely for entertainment. But it's like entertainment for who? Cause who can afford to go there if they can barely afford to live here?
Right.
You know? I look on the freeway, it's traffic every day in both directions at all hours of the day. That tells you that it's just as much, if not more, people having to commute every day, whether it's to leave here to go to work somewhere else, or to come out here and go to work. You know, those of us, a lot of us that was, you know, born and raised here, have since had to move out, you know, because, you know, housing costs and living costs are, you know, are a little cheaper out of the way versus being right here. But on the other side of that, most of the jobs that we need to even pay for any of it is still out here. But the commute, the everything just is, it's just a crazy cycle. It is. So I'm not sure how much more of it is, you know, is gonna go on before some real changes have to get made. We'll see. I think that's about, and here's a perfect example before I get off this subject. Meta. They just cut 1,000 employees.
Yes.
Yes.
1,400.
1,400, right? I was gonna say a little over 1,000. But Meta, that with that layoff, you're right. And you would think, okay, well, what's bigger than Meta? They act like Meta was the biggest thing, you know, in the one of the biggest things in the digital world, in the social media world, definitely in the social media space.
Come on.
But this is what we're talking about. You guys built up whole communities out here, you know, moved all these people in, moved all these other people out. And now out of nowhere, y'all just massive layoffs.
1,400 houses.
You know, that's a lot of households. Those are a lot of families, children, you know, as well as like we just said too, or even elderly. You gotta think about it, some of those people might have, you know, their elderly relatives living with them. Now their income gone, now they gotta get a smaller house, or a mobile home, or an apartment, you know, or now somebody has to try to go and stay at a, you know, a facility,
Or they gotta move back.
or move back to where they came from. which a lot of that has been going on. You know, yeah, California is kind of on the low end of places that people moving to, versus down south and other places because people know, hey, it's still a little cheaper. But I don't know why. And again, if that's the case, then do it. I mean, again, it wouldn't be what it is if they didn't do it the way they're doing it. But it's like, okay, at least make it make sense. There's a way that all of this, no matter what the transition is, that it can happen without it having such a negative effect on people. Y'all sitting here trying to act like, oh, it's not enough space, but there's plenty of space. You got, people trying to buy up all this land or property just for it to sit. It's not being, not being used. Different things like that. You gotta turn some of that around, Give you an example. One of the other things that's about to open up out here, Vanderbilt University. Now, Vanderbilt is a pretty prestigious university, Pretty sure you guys have heard the name before. You can look them up. They are going to be expanding their campus out here to the West Coast.
Vanderbilt University.
And of all places, they're going to be relocating to San Francisco, which is considered one of the most expensive places in California. It's going to be replaced. It's going to be replacing, taking over the campus in the city that used to belong to the California College of the Arts. I'm confused. I'm confused. I don't understand why, how, any of that. I mean, now if they wanted to expand, I can understand that. But why are they taking over a college that was actually built here, from here, for here? Online, I mean, they could have gave online options. I know a lot of colleges do that out of state, but again, and I hear you, but that's what I'm saying. The money is, what is money right now? the way they making these different moves, you don't know whether the money means something or it don't. Cause it's like, this is, it seems to me like they're trying to make it seem like it's not worth it to be out here. And you hear a lot of people say that too, even the ones that travel and visit, they, it's expensive, it's just ridiculous. But yet still they're making it more expensive, more ridiculous. But then you look around, other places are on the decline. So I don't know. I just, like I said, hopefully, those that, because it is money motivated. So if they sitting on it like that, hopefully they're going to, make a difference in the community as well by coming out here. Hopefully they can implement some programs and different things, give students access, to education that they otherwise wouldn't have had access to. Hopefully they do that. That's all I can say. What else? Cause it's about that time. Again, I don't know what they're trying to do with y'all, but health is wealth. Health is the most important thing. Make sure y'all take your vitamins, whatever prescription medication, but also make sure that you're precautious out here. They've announced this other virus that I guess they're just calling the super flu, right? If y'all got opinions on this, please, like I said, go leave comments, Twitch TV, or on our YouTube channel, or any of our social media sites, they just they just calling stuff names. They don't even have.
They just giving us.
Yeah, just give it a name. Here's the super flu. It's the COVID-19, or it's the this and that. It's the X virus. It's the, you know what I mean? You gotta ask yourself, where's all these different things coming from? All these different variations.
Yes. Now you understand.
And we know what they is. They're coming from a lab. You know, but why is it? Why are they even being created? You know, what is it that you guys are still trying to test out and find the answers to? Because from what we do know, and there's still a lot that we don't, but there's a lot of stuff that's already out there. You guys already have cures for a lot of these diseases and health conditions. They are being released to the general public. And I'm wondering, because I noticed in some countries, certain vaccines and stuff, they are allowed, and certain medications. So it's like, what are you guys doing? Trying to, they talk about how the medical field, the world of medicine, and when it comes to health and stuff, that's a big money thing. But it's like, okay, it seems like y'all are creating diseases. Y'all creating diseases as a form of control. Because if there's a disease, then there has to be treatment, and there has to be a cure.
There's no cure.
Well, no.
Not for us.
That's what I was gonna say. There actually is. There's cures, but
It's not
they
for us.
aren't released to. They're not available to us until way later down the line, after a certain dollar amount has been made off of. They've had there's patents that have been out for the cure for cancer, AIDS, HIV, all of that stuff. It's available in other countries. Some of them, like I said, the people that own the patent, I agreed in the discussion that I had with somebody where I don't feel like one person should be able to own that. That's something that affects all humankind. So why would you be charging some outrageous amount, unrealistic amount, when it could be saving so many lives? But again, like I said, is they do it on purpose, crowd control, notice. But yeah, please be on the lookout for that. And then just yesterday, the day before, in Berkeley, they just announced that there was an outbreak of a deadly disease in Berkeley called leptospirosis, I think. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. But it's supposed to be a dangerous disease that, normally is found in animals, but it can be transferred to humans. And guess how they found it? They discovered it by testing some rats, and I believe several rats as well as 2 dogs that were found near some encampments off of Harrison Street in Berkeley, which is near the Cal Berkeley, it's called University Village. It's over near that way. University Village is like housing for Cal Berkeley students, right? And so they found it over there, and again, if they find it in the homeless encampments, then typically some adults, typically some humans can be infected by this. But I also gotta ask myself, how did that disease just pop up right there, out of all places, right next to a university? You know, was that something, you know, somebody got, you know, again, they left out of the lab with something and disposed of it when they shouldn't have? Did they take a test subject out of the, you know,
Let 'em
did
go.
they take a lab rat out?
Just let
Yeah,
it go,
let
just
it
let it
go. You know, what is it? Because there's been unhoused people around here for years. We ain't never just heard it all of a sudden. You know, that would have been happening. Right along with COVID. We'd hear about everybody. We would have heard about every other disease spreading around. I just find that odd. But yeah, they did give out a statement about that. I don't be around. I mean, you know, you can't help it if you can't help it, but I'm typically not around unhoused encampments, you know. Maybe if I'm, you know, trying to give out some food or different stuff, you know, donate to the unhoused, but I typically don't be in encampments or necessarily near them to worry about that. But the other part about it is, which is what makes it dangerous, is like I said, rats or even the dogs, you know, it's, and I understand people that are unhoused, you know, hey, you want companionship, you want different things, you know, and you should be entitled to that. But on the other side, I feel that people that are unhoused, it's already, you can't take care of yourself. How is it that you're taking care of an animal on the street? You know? And it leaves room for this kind of stuff to happen because you can be sitting there and you know, hey, you know, that's your pet, so you want to share some food, or, you know, you sleeping with it, you know what I mean, just different things.
You know,
and it can easily spread.
I always wonder this one question, because this is too close to just simple logic, right?
Uh-huh.
Shouldn't that be considered animal abuse? Here's my reason why. If you let that animal go on its own, by nature, it will feed itself.
Right.
It will be healthy and it'll be out living. It will take care of itself by nature. When you are capturing this animal and making it stay outside with you against its will until basically it has Stockholm syndrome.
Right. I don't agree with it at all either. Like I said, yeah, if you can't take care of yourself, it's kind of hard to take care of an animal, and especially because they require a different type of care. But like you said, just being unhoused, period, you have to worry about different types of diseases and all of that stuff too. So,
and that's a cold design because you got an outside pet because unfortunately, you're outside.
Right.
Your outside pet is roaming.
Right.
So if you just look at the rats.
Yeah.
Because here in Oakland, over the last 5 years, we've had a rat surge population growth. You know what I'm saying? Where there is way more rats than it has been ever in a long time in Oakland.
Right.
You know?
Due to the trash on the streets, like you said, yeah, stuff not being picked up.
Yes.
You know, again, like we talk about in those other countries, you know, you gotta think about it, those areas where there's no running water or where people don't have plumbing. You know, when they gotta use the bathroom, where is it supposed to go? It just go right there on the pile.
And the cold part about it is, see, in other countries, they built for it. Here, we're not built for outside living. We are built for city living.
Right. Like I said, we've lost well, I guess our immune systems are weaker
Yes.
to it. Like
That's what I'm looking at. And so our immune system is way weaker than that of a person that's raised living outside.
Right.
in those kind of countries. And then to that comment, to dude who said, who was that you said that the states are a third world country now?
Yeah, Jesse Ventura.
Yeah. He's on to something because, see, your state of living starts in a state of mind. And our state of mind is like a third world country right now.
Right.
Everybody's entitled to something, and if they don't get it, they're taking it.
Right.
You know? So, yeah. Just thinking about that. It's not crazy. If you really look at it, if we all broke it down, it's by design. This is the perfect time to let viruses go. If that's what they was doing. If that was a scenario.
As far as crowd control?
Yeah, because you can blame it on the people. You can blame it on the influx of rats
Right.
into the city that mixes with loose pets that associate with people.
Right.
You can link it together and then let it go. And
nobody suspects anything.
Suspects anything.
Right.
Because it can happen. It can happen. Rats multiply fast as, I don't know, man. Shit.
Well, with that being said, y'all, please stay away from any stray dogs, cats, any of that. I don't do it. To
Right.
be honest with you, I don't do it.
Right.
I never have. Rats,
And you
I
think
definitely
about
don't
it.
consider them pets.
And that's what makes you have to watch your elderly people. Is because elderly people, they don't know no better. They feed the stray cats.
Right.
Now you
They
got
know
this-
better. That's what they just choosing to do. But
Well, I mean, some of them know
right.
better. But you know, a lot of them was raised on you feed the cats in your neighborhood,
Right.
and they come around.
Right.
You feel me? I'm telling you, I was on this job recently, and we had to go pick up this lady, and this lady was from East Oakland, and that's why I said our mindset is third world, because I went to this lady's apartment to get her. She was complaining about the neighbor, and what they were complaining about is out of the neighbor's house was a wave of roaches coming. Just out the front door, like, we out of here. And the other neighbors is complaining about it. 'Cause
Right.
and as I'm walking up, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing, like, it gotta be something terrible when even roaches is evacuating. You know what I mean? But the thing about it was, the lady that was complaining had 11 cats.
That's ridiculous.
And here's the thing. The lady had so many cats. And when I say so many, I mean past 30. More than 30 cats. Coming in and out of her house. In the window, in the side window. And this
Right.
is
And that's why, like you said, too, even just because I've had pets, I've had dogs, I've had cats, but if you get to being outside and you roaming,
exactly.
you ain't.
You ain't mine no more.
Yeah, you
Simple
ain't.
as that.
Yeah, I'm not with all that. You coming back in the house, period.
Yeah.
Let alone you being, like I said, you definitely not gonna be on no couch, no
Walking
bed.
around freely.
Yeah,
Nah.
and you right. You was just out in somebody's garbage can.
Come on.
Somebody.
Chasing rats.
Yeah.
Come on. Look at the connection. So now it's in the inner cities.
Right.
Because we got all these stray pets
Right.
around these strange people that think this is normal.
Right.
Oh man. This lady, I have to pray for this lady. Because this lady, and I could guess her state of mind, because, well, she had no legs. So we had to pick her up to put her chair.
But even then,
The lady had roaches running through her wig.
that's what I'm trying to say. She's not able to move, to
Look.
do nothing.
She got in my truck and said, "Oh, your boss need to clean these."
No, she didn't.
I can't make this up, man. I can't make this up.
That's crazy.
Oh man, you wouldn't. And here's the thing: you drive down the street, and when you look at this building, you would never imagine none of this. You would never imagine none of this. But it's in your face every day. So you, like I said, by design. So now all this underground, we just blaming the rats.
Right.
Okay? But look how, even if we just blame the rats,
Right.
how they are inside of our neighborhood with these viruses and diseases.
Right. So the real question is what's it going to take to prevent that?
Yeah. Yeah. To start cleaning up.
Yeah. No, and I think that they knew that and they couldn't let it go too far. That's why with
We
the
don't hold
encampments and
ourselves
stuff.
accountable like the people in other countries. In other countries, they don't even have garbage cans outside because they don't even have garbage.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, then some of the ones that were I seen and they did, it didn't look good. Like you said, because it's like, okay, this got to be cleaned up. You
Right.
can't just have it just, freely like that. And like you said, even in those countries where it is a lot of disease, some of that be the reasons why.
We be right here, man. Listen. The same person that if you go in front of their house and throw some trash on their lawn, will be the same person that'll pull up in front of a store and throw the trash right out their car right when they get in. And the trash can be sitting right there
Right.
3 steps away.
Right.
Be the same people. It's a mindset. We in a third world mindset. Nobody gives a damn about tomorrow. They do, but they don't. They do to the point that they want tomorrow, but they don't because they scared like, I might not make it.
Wow.
So fuck it. YOLO. I've heard this. I didn't make that up. I've heard this.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you're like, what?
if we wanted to change, we definitely got to change with that mindset included. Excuse me. With that being said, for those of you that, I'm pretty sure everybody knows this, but in case you're not aware, this coming Monday is Martin Luther King Day. It's a holiday, it's a day to celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, his contributions, to a lot of different things, but, mainly to civil rights movements and for equality, for people of color. And I think, we probably need to take a couple notes out of his book, even in regards to tackling these obstacles that we're talking about right now, because this isn't a race thing. You know what I mean? As far as like what we're talking about, like these diseases will wipe out everybody.
Right.
We need to come together and put differences to the side in order to figure out how to do what's best for humanity, for humankind. And it even goes down to that, because like we're sitting here talking about some of this is happening in certain areas, and it's been that for a while too throughout history, where it was, hey, the more poverty stricken areas, would always end up with the short end of the stick. Those would always tend to be the places where the you know, the diseases will run rampant, crime, different things. And it happened then and it's still happening now. But we also know the truth in some of that, and that some of that was planted there. You know, some of that was put there, done by design. You know, and so some of us kind of have an idea, but I'm not trying to get into conspiracy theories and none of that. But as far as, you know, who or what, you know, could possibly be behind all this plotting and planning to kind of, you know, do population control. But if we really wanted to change, then we have to come together and look out for each other and do what needs to be done in order to change it. You know, because again, it makes no sense to me. I don't feel that it has to be that way. Everybody can get on the same page. So, you know, hopefully, and speaking of which, because it's kind of funny that all this ties in, because here in Oakland, on Monday, on MLK Day, they're actually doing a bunch of service events throughout Oakland. You can check it out on the City of Oakland's website, but they're going to be doing a couple different projects throughout the city where people, you know, are volunteering, and people are getting together, you know, as again part of the whole service day, where they're actually going to be cleaning up certain areas and you know, different neighborhoods, and hopefully, like I said, it'll make a difference when you can keep the disease down, it can keep stuff from spreading. Now again, you know, I commend everybody that participates in these events, but I do want to say, please be mindful. Make sure you wear the proper protective stuff, gloves, glasses, pay attention to what you're doing when you're doing it. Make sure that things are disposed of the right way, you know, and that's how we can avoid these type of things. And that's as far as disease and stuff go. On another note, mentally and everything else, just work on how we treating each other out here. Because, you know, that makes a difference too. That makes a difference because, you know, if you treat a person like shit, they're going to feel like shit. You understand what I'm saying? If you talking to them like that, then that's how they're going to feel. And then they, you know, a lot of people resort to certain behaviors or certain things, which again lead to the spread of disease or, like I said, just, you know, unlivable conditions, you know. And so it starts there with how we talk and how we talk to each other, how we treat each other, and having respect for each other enough to, you know, not do those types of things, not mess up stuff. You know, we gotta take care of what we have and preserve it. That's it. I don't really want to say too much else about it. But yeah, I guess we gonna see what happens, but it's up to us. So instead of just seeing what happens, we need to take initiative and, you know, take the right steps towards making it happen, or you're getting the outcome that we want in order to see the results that we want. I know it's getting close to that time, y'all, so guess we about to get ready to get up out of here. Again, if you got any comments, any feedback, or any information that you want to share with us, please feel free to do so. Right here on Twitch, or you can go on YouTube, or like I said, hit us up on the social media apps. We love to hear from y'all. Tell a friend. See us again next week. Before the show though, before next week's show, if you happen to be in Oakland, because I did forget this when I was talking about, you know, new stuff opening and other stuff closing. If you're looking for something to do, you can catch us next Wednesday There's gonna be the grand opening, right? It's next Wednesday, right?
Next Wednesday.
January 21st.
Yes.
Okay. Got a new night spot, Parliament, downtown Oakland, 811 Washington Street.
Thank you.
We're gonna be there, you know, doors open at 7, the show gonna kick off around 8. It's $5 cover, we everywhere, you never there. And if you do see us, put it in the air. That's all I'm gonna say. And you know, any artists that might wanna get down, poets, singers, y'all know what to do. You gotta tap in with Igor Beats, and we gonna get you right. But yeah, I'm out of here until next time, y'all. Street Level Impact. Let's go.